Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. Well, it's one of my favorite things about World of Warcraft. It attracts controversy, which I don't know. I'm just a total sucker for, I guess. Case in point, there's a couple issues in World of Warcraft I wanted to touch up on and give my thoughts about. This is just my personal opinion, nothing more. I will also warn you that this recording may contain some spoilers, so if you're concerned about that, well, you've been warned. Let's see here. The first item was the accusation of Horde favoritism. Now keep in mind, I know I play an Alliance character, so that's where my bias comes from on this. This mainly stemmed from leaked information that in the next patch, 4.4, the Horde was going to take over Theramore. The details of which are not known, particularly what happens to Jaina and whatever else. So this is interesting to say the least, and this has got a lot of people riled up. They're saying, "Oh, the Horde's conquering all of Alliance territory. Alliance is getting practically jack in return. This is total favoritism to the Horde, and all this sort of thing." And I can see how people would think that, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure the Horde is getting all the goodies out of this. Because, I mean, yes, the Horde has had a lot of military victories, and in some cases I felt they were a little too forced. But the thing to keep in mind is, while the Horde is getting a lot of victories, at what cost are they coming? I mean, look at their relations with each other. The Forsaken are really in bad straits with the Horde after the Wrathgate incident, and Sylvanas, being the eternal idiot that she is doing the absolute opposite thing she should be doing to get their trust back. Yeah, keep using the plague after you were told not to. I'm sure that's going to go over well. How Garrosh is totally clueless about this to this day, I have no idea, but hey, guess he takes after Thrall. Anyways, let's see. Now, Garrosh is big military guy, and a lot of the Horde leaders don't agree with what he does. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Taurens still aren't pleased with him about losing Karn. And the Trolls absolutely hate his guts, as anyone who played a Troll in the intro area can see. Yeah, Vol'jin absolutely told him off something fierce. Now, the Blood Elves tend to side with the Forsaken, since they are quite good relations with them, but I'm not sure they'd go along with what the Forsaken's doing right now. All in all, it seems like the Blood Elves are the only ones who have got their shit together. All the other ones are all arguing with each other. There's a lot of tension. It's pretty much respect for Thrall that's keeping them together right now. But I really wonder how far that's going to go. That's going to carry it. And as has been pointed out, meanwhile on the other side, the Alliance leaders have never been more aligned. They've never been more together. I don't think there's any. Pretty much the only Alliance leaders who are having any tiffs with anybody is the Dwarven leaders, mainly because Mora is living proof that rule by genetics is probably not a good idea. Anyways, so. And there are also a lot of people getting a little annoyed that Thrall's getting so much attention. True, but from the looks of things, this will be the end of it, because the way the ending cutscene went, it implies that Thrall's going to be taking a break for a while because he's going to be very busy. I'll get into that in a moment. So, and Blizzard has stated they are going to try to focus more on Tyrande and King Rin, and which is good news to me. I'd love to see those characters explored a little more thoroughly, because I think King Rin's kind of gotten a raw deal. He hasn't had a chance to do very much ever since he returned, and Tyrande's got a lot of history behind her, but hasn't really had a chance to do much of anything. Malfurion kind of took center stage from her. So I'm really interested in seeing how that's going, and I really don't think there's Horde favoritism per se, because the Horde may have gotten a lot of territories, but it's coming at the expense of their stability. How that'll all turn out, we'll see. So that's out of the way. The big one, though, is the ending cinematic after the defeat of Deathwing. This has caused a lot of controversy, so I'd like to weigh in with my thoughts about it. If you haven't seen it yet, the basic premise is Deathwing is defeated, and the Aspects and Thrall look on, and it turns out the Aspects pretty much burned up all their Titan granted powers in the fight. They're now mortals, and they talk about how the Cataclysm is over, but now it's the Age of Mortals. And a lot of people found this cheesy. They said, "Oh, my lore is ruined." I really don't see how the lore is ruined. They're continuing the story. You'd think everything's going to stay the status quo forever? Where's the fun in that? Now, I'm not quite sure how the loss of the Aspect's immortality, what effect that has on them. I think it just means they lose all their big powers. They're now just ordinary dragons. I think they're still dragons. They could be people now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how that works. But anyway, it's not that important. You see, let's see here. I think there's an interesting meaning to be gleaned from this. The dragon Aspects are for 5 dragons who were granted incredible powers in order to be the guardians of the earth of Azeroth, mainly to protect it from the old gods, the previous gods before the Titans, who want to unmake all of Azeroth because they want to return it back to the Sea of Chaos it used to be. They're basically the evil primal force of evil in the whole world, pretty basically. And well, the Aspects are supposed to be the guardians of Azeroth, but here's the interesting thing: the old gods have multiple times gone after the dragon Aspects themselves and tried to corrupt them in order to achieve their goal of destroying Azeroth. So the very people who are supposed to protect Azeroth end up being the prime targets for the bad guys to seduce and corrupt and get to be the destroyers themselves. Does that sound familiar to anybody out there? Huh? Does it? Nah, I didn't think so. I'm just imagining things. Because I mean, like Malagos got driven mad by Yogg-Saron and made that big war trying to confiscate all of magic to try to save Azeroth, and in the process was destroying it himself, ironically. And Deathwing himself used to be Neltharion, the Earth Guardian, until he was corrupted by power and by the old gods. And what's his name? Oh, come on! How can I not? The Time Guardian? What's his name? I can't remember it. Damn it! Oh, anyway, the Bronze Dragon Aspect. I'll remember in a second. Nosdormu. That's it. Sorry about that. I don't know how I forgot that name. Nosdormu could see it, since he can see in the future. He knew he was going to become corrupt. He knew that was going to happen. He could, because he's timeless and can see all of time. He could see when he was going to die, and this created Murozond, a future self who couldn't accept this and tried to change history to prevent his death from happening, and despite the fact that he was risking the entire world in the process. So he knew for him it wasn't a question of if he was going to be corrupted, it was a question of when. So I think there's an interesting thing to this. I think, to some extent, the Dragon Aspects believe this is for the best, or maybe even planned it from the start. They've seen that they've all too often been used themselves as instruments of destruction when they were supposed to be the ones protecting the world from destruction. I think they've arrived at the conclusion that it's just for the better this way. That as long as there's really powerful beings like them around, the old gods are going to seek them out and try to use them to achieve their terrible goals. So in a sense, they realize that in order to protect the world, the best thing they can do is to give up their powers, is to stop making themselves a target. And so yeah, they realize that whatever good they might do as the Dragon Aspects is going to be undone by all the damage they'll do when eventually the old gods get to them and they become another Deathwing. So they gave up their powers because they realized that ultimately they can't be used for good. So. Oh yeah, I can only dream our leaders in real life could ever have such wisdom. I mean, it's just it's a pretty interesting thing to think about. In fact, it's a running theme in the game that almost all the villains, many of the major villains, all used to be good guys, but usually by the old gods or sometimes by other means, they fall into corruption and become the very thing they were supposed to stop. All because yeah, you see this theme a lot. Like, a lot of people bash Deathwing for being a really bland villain, but the thing is, I don't really see him as a villain. He's more like a force of nature. He's more like an unstoppable super weapon. He's more like an unstoppable super weapon than an actual character. I think the real villain of Cataclysm was Cho'Gall, the Twilight cultists, and of course the old gods that they worship. And Neltharion, Deathwing, is basically just the tool that they use. He's just one of their victims, and he was supposed to protect the world from them, and ended up becoming the tool for their goal of destroying the world. So, that's just how I see it. I mean, I think it makes more sense that way. So, yeah, this isn't just fanboyism. I don't defend everything Blizzard does. I mean, we all know how I felt about patch 4.3. Blah. I'd like to just forget that ever existed. But yeah, I wouldn't say to judge the conclusion of Cataclysm so harshly. I think it's overall's done a good job, and the best thing is, when having the dragon aspects lose their power sets the stage for basically the next threat that comes to Azeroth. We can't bank on them. It's now up to us. I think that's the basically the moral to it. That now we haven't got any higher powers to rely on this time. We have to rely on ourselves. And and since we don't know what the villain of the next expansion is going to be, I think this opens things up for way more mystery, way more intrigue, and I really look forward to it. And I really hope that they do a good job with it. So, anyways. That's my take on the situation. Feel free to discuss as much as you want. Just please do not put a post saying that you're going to quit, because really, nobody cares. If you'd want to quit the game, just quit. You will not be missed. Thank you very much. Yes, they're going to do it anyway, aren't they? Anyways, that's my take for the day, so there you go. Until next time, be aware and be wise.